So, I mean, honestly, like, basically what I'm getting at is that the thing that made Ray Lewis, like, one of the best linebackers of our era wasn't just that he killed someone and got away with it, but it was his ability to hide things like a white suit, um, details from murder investigations. Like, you never really knew it was coming, and so he'd be able to just go right at the quarterback and just sack him because
He had deception.
yeah, he had, like, the quarterback didn't know whether or not he was gonna do it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a crafty guy in murder and in football.
Yeah, I mean, no disrespect, even though we just called you a murderer, to Ray Lewis. Pretty sure everyone kind of just assumes that he had something to do with it.
Yeah.
But, we'll get on to something happier.
Yeah.
Like, what was the happiest thing that you did this weekend?
The happiest thing that I did this weekend
Or the thing that brought
was
you
to
the
hang
most
out with
joy?
you on your birthday, man.
Thank
for a little
you.
bit.
Thank you.
I was pretty happy.
Yeah, it was actually a nice day. It didn't rain for once.
Yep.
It's fucking Trump saying that global warming isn't real. Well, tell me how it was 75 degrees on my birthday in the end of January.
And there's like this dude. I saw this statistic today that people, like, there's such a bad drought in parts of Australia that there's kindergartners that live there that have never seen rain, like, in their whole life. Yeah.
Like, on the level of people who are like, because I get when people are like, I've never seen snow.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, yeah, I get that.
Right. But,
Never
like,
seen
literally
rain.
never seen a fucking raindrop.
Oh my god, can you imagine how much that'd blow a kid's mind if he didn't know that rain existed,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden he's just like, the fuck?
I was like, hell yeah, this is dope. Yeah.
That's that. Wait, so, well, I kind of get it, because isn't Australia only inhabited by, like, or isn't only, like, some ridiculous amount, like 1/8 of Australia is inhabited?
Yeah, most of it's just like fucking
Desert.
barren land. But yeah, I mean, they're talking about a place that, like, normally would get probably as much rain as, like, California. Like, so not a whole ton.
So, like,
Or
on
Southern
the,
California.
So, like, on the west coast of Australia, probably?
Yeah, well, it's
Well,
like
wait, no.
they've had like a 5-year drought or something.
Eastern coast. Because the two areas that are inhabited is the northwestern coast and then the southeastern coast.
Well, okay.
Because the southeastern coast, I believe, is where Sydney is. I don't know.
And then there's like
I could
Melbourne
look it up.
and
Yeah, and then,
Adelaide.
and then there's just this huge barrenness between it, which does have people who live there, but
yeah,
like
the Aborigine folks.
that are just like fucking people who are dodging felony charges from the United States, maybe.
Yeah.
Like people like what's his name, John McAfee. No, he was at a different island or something like that. Dude,
Yeah.
have you seen his series of weird videos?
No, I mean I know that there's a pretty good documentary about him, but I haven't watched
Like
that or
the ones that he made, though.
no. Yeah, I don't know why. What do they have to say?
It's just literally him doing cocaine, like, off of girls' asses in bikinis and, like, flexing how many guns he has and, like, all this shit.
Really? Damn,
Yeah.
I didn't know he was that kind of dude.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't really know anything about him other than he made that fucking McAfee virus,
insane.
antivirus shit.
He's wanted by... Hold on. I just want to look it up so I have the country right. McAfee. Yeah, he has, like, all these, like, weird videos he makes, like, John McAfee flees U.S., Wyoming opens up for cryptocurrency. Like, he wants to run for president in 2020 and shit.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I know. Can you imagine that fucking loose cannon? Well, so he's like really, dude. He's a total genius that, in my mind, not to be super judgmental or condescending, but in my mind, he's like a genius who like didn't get to, he. It's not the only reason he became a genius, but while he was busy doing productive things, he missed out on like a lot of quote unquote what rich life or crazy life has to offer.
Yeah.
And so that's why he's going so hard.
It's like his second, adolescence.
Because like they still have to pay him. So he plans to run for president. His primary platform is to promote the use of cryptocurrency, and he's going to run libertarian.
Oh, cool.
Wow, cool. Let's just divide all the parties.
Yeah, no, that's what they're doing. Dude, the guy, you've heard the guy, the former CEO of Starbucks that wants to run.
Yeah.
And he's going to run as an independent. So that would just probably take votes away from both Trump and whatever Democrat ends up running. But it's still like, they're not going to win.
I feel like I know a few females, and this isn't trying to be sexist, but it is primarily females, that probably, they've invested a good amount of money into Starbucks. And so, I guess, if you don't vote for them, you're kind of being a dick.
Yeah. It's like you've already invested so much time and energy into this silly product. It's like a campaign contribution for all your frappuccinos.
I'm trying to find, so... Yeah, dude, he has so much, like, pull in all of this. So he has, like, I like how it says, his personal and business interests include smartphone apps, cryptocurrency, yoga, and antibiotics.
Holy shit.
Well,
that's a pretty wide array.
That's what it is. He's wanted in Belize for murder.
Oh, jeez.
Because I don't know if he's like I don't know if he's like acknowledged that there was even a problem. I'm pretty sure he's smart enough to just deny. And even though it's so funny when people are like, I'm pleading the fifth, and I'm like, dude, Belize is not America.
Yeah.
Like I love it. Like, I'm not gonna talk to cops. I'm like, you realize how ignorant you sound right now. Because I've heard people be like, yeah, dude, if I ever got in trouble, I just wouldn't say shit. I'm like, no, like, if like you did that shit, and like even like if you did that shit in like Germany still, they're gonna beat the fuck out of you. Like, they don't give a fuck about you being like, I want a lawyer. They're gonna break a few ribs, and there's your fucking lawyer.
Yeah.
That's why I don't get a lot. I mean, I don't want to get too heavy, obviously, but I mean, I feel like it's one of those things where people don't realize how easy they've got it, even with how shitty Trump is.
Oh yeah. Well, America,
like,
it's got its pros and cons.
We're still living,
but it's not a terrible fucking place to live,
Yeah, and the other thing is that it's not even that we're still living because we're white males or something. If anything, I feel like at any point in my life right now, I feel not oppressed, because I'm not going to go there and use that word and try and be like do the whole victim thing.
Yeah. Because
I'm a lazy piece of shit, and I think the more that people are aware of like their current state and their surroundings, like, not to go off on a total tangent, but it just reminds me of like people, like the same people accuse others of having white privilege are the same people that aren't aware that they're taking up an entire sidewalk while they're walking really slowly. And you have to like pull them out of the way.
Yeah. They're just oblivious privilege, because I don't like give a shit about other people.
Exactly. And that's dude, and it's ridiculous like how that just gets like overlooked. But it gets overlooked because they genuinely just don't realize it. And then the thing I think it's funny is that obviously people like the Tiki Torch boys and all that shit, like they're not aware of how racist and stupid they're being.
Yeah.
But it's like, dude, I have never been like, I've never been pulled over. Just to make a point, I've never been pulled over and been like, "Oh, I got this. I'm white."
Yeah.
It's I'm scared shitless.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, is there any weed in the center console? Like, do I, like, even if I'm, like, obviously my New Year's resolution over a year ago, it's sad that it took me that long to make it official that I just don't do it, but driving, like, drunk.
Yeah. That's good, man.
But it's like, you can still get pulled over, like, driving home the night after.
Oh, yeah.
Or the morning after, and you just smell like alcohol.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you're in his...
You could blow over the legal limit.
Yeah, or you could even just be out of it, like, in the mornings, like when you and I or Kevin have woken up from, like, a fun one.
Yeah.
I don't think I could pass, like, a walk a straight line test.
Yeah.
Or anything. Like, I feel like shit. Too. I'd ask the officer, I'd be like, "Hey, is it cool if I dry heave in between these? Do you have any water? I could really use some water." That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's my rant of the week.
Yeah. I think cops are fucking scary in general. Obviously, people in certain places are going to have a tougher time based on what their race is. I feel like, in some places Mexicans are more fucked if they get pulled over than, like, a black person, whereas in other places it's like if you're Asian it's like, oh well, these are like the fucking hoodlums of our area, so that those are the people who we're gonna, like, fuck with. And it's just, and if you're like a redneck white dude, then they're probably the people that get fucking fucked with, because I'm sure they create their fair share of problems for cops.
Well, also, yeah, that's actually a great point, because, like, for instance, like, I bet you, like, I wouldn't doubt that, like, the western states in the United States that border Mexico hate Hispanics way more than they hate African Americans.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like, there's so much more racist to them.
Totally, yeah.
And that's where, like, all that heat comes from. And so it's
there's always, like, the thing, like, oh, they could be illegals and shit too.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then you're like, they're all complaining about that, and then they're like, oh, my transmission went out. I need to go find a good mechanic. And then it's like, you just were trashing the best mechanic in San Antonio.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's very interesting. And then also same thing with, like, there's a lot of, because when I had the opportunity, well, I guess when I made the mistake, but also had the opportunity of living in San Francisco, in the actual city, when it didn't cost a kidney to live there, I noticed that there was it was really weird, because I think I've told you about this, but, like, the scariest people on the weekends, especially if I was going into, like, the TL.
Yeah.
Which is already a bad move. I don't know if anyone who's listening know what the TL is. In San Francisco, it's called the Tenderloin. I don't know why it's called that. I think it's just literally because of its placement. When you look at, like, an aerial map photo, it's, like, in the same spot as the most tender part of a steak.
Yeah,
I think that's actually where it got its name.
Yeah, it's like the underbelly.
Yeah, but that's the weirdest thing is that the SF Academy of Art is, like, in the TL.
Yeah, dude, now it's like the Twitter headquarters is there, and fucking
they're trying to gentrify.
Yeah, but the thing that's crazy is that, I used to work there at, like, a nonprofit, but I lived in Oakland. But I stopped working there and being there very frequently, maybe like almost 4 years ago now. And even, then it was like the Tenderloin, from what I understand, used to just be like a pretty big area of, like, shitty, like, homeless people and stuff.
It was just a bunch of Section 8.
Yeah. But then now it's like, it's more compact, but, like, even crazier in those, like, now it's like one street.
Well, yeah, now it's literally, even when I was there, it's like three different, it's like almost like a Bermuda Triangle. There's, like, 3 hot spots. There's, like, There's the place where I got cold cocked by that dude I robbed. That's this different story. That's a different pod or story for a different pod. But
Yeah.
like around Turk and Leavenworth, when you walk up, you're like you can clearly tell when you're like in the Tenderloin.
Yeah.
Like once, basically you know you're in the Tenderloin when everyone that walks past you or every other person that walks past you is saying Roxy's, dilated, 8s, got him, 10 piece, what's up,
Yeah.
and trying to make eye contact with you.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's insane. But like, and then Pill Hill, I'm pretty sure is still. I think it's funny because I don't even know the actual name of that park.
Yeah.
But it's basically like, because now Echo Park in Los Angeles is a lot better.
Yeah.
Still not that great. Don't go in the East End. East LA still sucks. Sorry, people from LA, but I know you agree with me.
Yeah.
But Pill Hill is like one of those parks where like, if you're not with like 4 of your boys, like don't go through there because
Yeah.
someone's gonna rob you at gunpoint.
And like, why would you even like need to cut across it for a shortcut or some shit? Like,
Yeah, well the thing is that the way that the Tenderloin is set up is that Van Ness, like one of the main boulevards that turns into like 19th Street, I think,
Mhm.
which ends up turning into the 101 south or
Yeah.
north.
Yeah.
That like, because you know how the 101 just goes right into San Francisco.
Yeah. Like the freeway's right
Like,
there.
and
Like,
there's
there's giant
the
stadiums.
like the main thoroughfare or the thoroughways are like Golden Gate Avenue, which is like handles West San Francisco,
Mhm.
which is like where you go to the Sunset District. You can get onto Taraval. Van Ness is like the way to Market Street downtown. The Tenderloin. What's Union Square?
Yeah.
Like I think I've told you about this not several times, but a few times. But like, I still need to go through my portfolio at my parents' house because the one picture that I really fucking loved that it totally encapsulated the Tenderloin
Mhm.
was this picture of a guy shooting up in like the cover from the rain. Like he was in the cover of like a abandoned storefront in the Tenderloin,
Mhm.
and I asked him if I could take a picture because I gave him a couple bucks because I passed by him. I didn't know he was gonna shoot up.
Yeah.
Gave him a couple bucks, and I was also just under there like under the rain, just messing with my camera and stuff because I was just out there trying to take cool pictures of San Francisco in the rain.
Yeah.
And then I see him like literally like he's sitting on. I'm like it's so stereotypical or not stereotypical, but it's so like just people just think that this happens and it does. He's just sitting on a piece of cardboard, fucking pulls out his gear and starts shooting up, and I'm like, hey, like I'm trying to like he said, oh, you got a camera? Like what's up? Like he kind of got a little like sketched out.
Yeah.
But like at that point in time, even though I had been, I think right around then I was maybe like 3 years clean or something, I said, no, man, like you can. I think that's also what kind of. I feel like I'm rambling, but that's kind of I think what consoled him or like made him be like, oh, okay, whatever. It's because I was like, dude, no way, you can keep your gear out. Like I don't give a fuck.
It's
Like just
it's
saying,
for art.
like I'm just saying, it's more just like when he heard me saying the terms. It
Mhm.
makes me seem less narkish.
Yeah, like you're gonna
I'm just like, dude.
either be afraid of
I'm
him
just like,
or
I'm just like, you can keep your
get him in
gear.
trouble.
Yeah, and the fact that I didn't like run away, you're like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
I'm just like, no, man, you can keep your gear out. It's fine. And then I was like, hey, would you mind like if I just like you don't have to pose or anything, but would you mind if I just took a picture? Like I won't have your face in it. And it's just like you can kind of just see like a side profile of like him and his beanie, this homeless African American dude. He was super nice too, dude. He didn't even ask me for money, but it was raining and I just was like, and he was just like, he just looked like bummed. I mean, if you're sleeping under a fucking abandoned door or abandoned shop,
Yeah.
like just ducking the rain, the only reason you're sleeping there is because the thing's sloped so you don't get your sleeping bag flooded.
Yeah.
Like you take what you can get as far as happiness.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. That's the other tragedy of the opioid addiction is I feel like everyone's treating it like it's. I get it that it's Big Pharma's fault for pushing that and also subduing things like cannabis, weed and shit like that.
Right. Definitely.
I think that it's not just them to blame. I think it's also just like the fact that like, I don't know. It's just no one's really recognizing that like that's all they have, but like that's the scary thing is that it all comes down to mental health because when you find something, God, I'm going so deep. We should go. We should go light on it, but whatever. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, might as well.
I just upload all this stuff anyway.
Yeah, no,
I'm not
like
intending to make it. I'm not trying to make any money off YouTube right now, and it's more just like I think we should be addressing the fact that people are willing to live in squalor over this.
Well, I mean, the thing there's
it's Big Farm didn't tell them to live in squalor. They just provided it.
Well, I think the reason
Big Farm is this.
I think the reason people are making such a big deal about it now is because it's reaching like middle class and like upper class like populations because of the Big Pharma shit.
Exactly.
So it's like that's why they give a fuck because before it was just poor people.
Yeah, but now it's affecting people who didn't really care about their children, but now they have to because they have to either send them to rehab or like actually be a good parent.
Yeah. And so I mean, I think the idea of like a junkie forever, it's like, people don't, people look at crack like it's the worst shit ever, but they look at cocaine like it's like glamorous and like fucking cool and like shit.
It's literally
because it's like you have to be rich to afford cocaine and you can be really poor and get high off of crack. I mean, you don't have to be rich to afford cocaine, but it's like a party, like a fun party drug. But I think also with the whole heroin thing is that if you grow up really poor and your whole life sucks, and then you like do heroin, you're probably just like, dude, this is fucking sick, like
dude, that's
better than anything I got going for me.
That's my exact point. Is that that's what I think is the tragedy is that people are missing is that they're so eager to blame someone or something because we live in this like sue happy blame everyone nation. I'm not accountable for shit type thing.
Yeah.
Whereas like there's probably you can scoot shit over if you want to put that on the table.
Yeah. No, I just don't want to like have. Spill it or have Zaza like jump on it or some shit.
Zaza won't. Kevin might.
Yeah.
It's like so you kind of get like what I'm saying. Like, so from what I'm saying is that like, sure, Big Farm or whatever you want to call it. I hate saying that because people have like tarnished the word by saying it too much.
Yeah, it loses its meaning.
It loses its meaning, and because Big Farm comes in so many other different ways. Like they come in the form of overcharging diabetics. They overcharge cancer patients. They
work with the insurance companies.
Yeah. And they also like essentially bribe doctors to be like, hey, we'll give you this if you always suggest our shit over their shit.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's why my doctor's blacklisted.
Yeah.
But the thing that's sad is that people don't understand that. I think the biggest tragedy and the thing that kind of put the crack epidemic, which isn't thankfully as prevalent, but now we have the opioid epidemic, is that it basically enabled people who weren't fully ready to give up on life, quote unquote, like just by that I mean, like, no one just sleeps on the street on a piece of cardboard under, a couple shirts and a makeshift blanket and a tarp for a reason.
Yeah. They
do it because the thing that they're after and that they're chasing is so good. Like, literally, like, so I've been... Let's see, what day is it? In roughly 2.5 months, I'll be officially 9 years clean of opioids.
Yeah.
And that's including my relapse. So I would have normally been almost 11 years clean, but or not 11 years clean, but I would have already been at 9 years clean, but I relapsed like 8 months into stopping.
Yeah.
And I'm 31 now. God, I'm so old. But yeah, that's the thing, is that like it literally, like when they say like getting like, because that's the thing that saved me, is I could never shoot up. But when you get shot up with even just a half of a Dilaudid, which you can get, or at least at the time you could get on the street, for $1 a milligram, so you get it for $8. You get an alien head for $8. It's funny because all the people who everyone who actually thinks that I don't know what I'm talking about, it won't know what I'm talking about, but everyone who knows what I'm talking about will be like, yeah, 8 milligram, alien head Dilaudid. You break them in half, fucking crush them up with 2 spoons, fucking I would have to have some, whatever girl I was with at the time, get me, and she'd do like the thing, she'd go pokey pokey, and I have to like look away.
Yeah.
But dude, that feeling, the rush of Dilaudid, is literally better than any orgasm I've ever had, any sex I've ever had.
Yeah.
And it feels that way for about 10 minutes, and then for the next 2 hours you're just in this like state of like, it almost just feels like you're getting a full body massage.
Yeah.
And if you can do that for $4,
Yeah.
no, like, why the fuck do people think people are sleeping under abandoned shops?
Yeah.
Because if all they have to do is go gather $4 in can money, or jack someone, or rip someone off,
or just get someone to give them a couple bucks.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is that like, because we've manifested that into people. So, but I feel like I'm going too deep. But at the same time, this isn't necessarily a comedy podcast.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, too, I mean, I put it in terms of not only like, economic strife and, political and sociological strife, but it's like spiritual strife, too. It's like, if someone is has a life, and they like have responsibilities, they have a family that cares about them, and they're choosing a high over those responsibilities. It's like you have to take some kind of responsibility for that.
Accountability,
yeah, because it's like we could all just fucking shoot heroin all day.
I think exactly. That's the thing. That
like everyone could.
That's
our whole
the
society
thing.
Would just fall.
And if anyone wants to debate what Rick just said, look at opium dens.
Yeah,
that's kind of what was happening then.
Yeah,
that's actually attributed to the fall of a lot of the Chinese empire.
Yeah. And they blame it on the U.S. too.
Yeah, they blame it on the U.S., but it was like, no, you guys were all just getting high in cots. You guys were all just in bunk beds, just fucking smoking.
They were just plugged into the Matrix, dude. Loving it.
Which is dank, but not when you need to swing a sword. You ever try to swing a sword on opium? It's really, really hard. It's like cutting through like a large piece of cheese.
Yeah, that's probably a new sentence that's never been said before.
Nice, dude. Major shout out Wikipedia,
dude. But the thing, like for me with drugs too, is that I'm not one of those people who just is under the opinion. I mean, obviously that like drugs are bad. Okay, like don't do them because they're bad. Mm-hmm. I think that certain drugs, based on your, experience or whatever, and what you've heard about them, people that that have done them, are important things to do. Like, I'm super happy that I've experimented a little bit with shit like that. I mean, I never... Well, just everything, man. I fucked with, some opiate type stuff a little bit, or... coke and then hallucinogens, especially hallucinogens. That's like some life altering shit.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. I'd say you're not just appreciative that you did it. It's more just like, I don't regret it.
Yeah, I don't regret it, but I'm not. But I feel like it helps me to make me, in my assessment, a better person. Like, I feel like I understand more about myself and other people having done LSD than if I had never done it.
Yeah, but that's what I mean is, like, it's not like appreciation. It's just more like, I get it now.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how when I describe, and I'll let you finish, but it's how I describe, like, why I always say I don't regret having gone to jail.
Yeah, right.
Because I would never have had that perspective.
Yeah, totally. It's all relative, but I don't look at there's certain things I've done where I've got, into trouble from my parents related to, like, drugs or this or that. And I do regret some of that stuff because it, hurt my family.
Does it hurt your fam?
It hurt me in some
But that shows a good
points.
sign of character.
Yeah, but I think you can't just say, well, all this shit is bad and all this shit is good. It's really how you apply it more than what it is, and what you do with it, more than just like, oh, this is a bad thing, don't do it. This is a good thing. Like, if you can take a thing, like, dude, people use MDMA and hallucinogens,
For PTSD.
shrooms and stuff for PTSD, and there's this really good. A lot of veterans have been using it.
Yeah, I know, and Trump's been, like, blocking that.
That's bad. But I read this really good article in Rolling Stone about this chick who, like, she was married to a guy and she was, like, totally in love with him, and they had, like, a quote unquote, like, perfect normal life, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she, like, hated him for, like, no reason. And, like, every time he came near her, she would, like, cry and, like, get scared of him and shit.
Was she the one with PTSD or him?
Well, yeah, so she had obviously some weird problem that she didn't even know what it was.
Maybe someone from
She, like, repressed
her
it.
past.
Yeah. And so she tried all these things and, like, nothing really worked, and it was like her whole personality changed overnight. Like, she went from this normal, quote unquote normal person to someone who was, like, very emotional and, like, couldn't control herself. She couldn't, like, work and all this shit. And so then she, like, had to, and it was his, suggestion to try the whole hallucinogenic route. And the way that they do it is really crazy. It's like, well, not crazy, but a lot of it's kind of not exactly legal. So you have to go to these, like, alternative doctors because they're actual doctors, and they, like, have
it's almost like holistic medicine.
Yeah, they have, like, a technique. It'd be like going out and doing ayahuasca or some shit.
Yeah, from a shaman.
Yeah, and so they have it. They make sure that you're very, like, in a very comfortable and, like,
They should
controlled
put you
setting.
in a fucking like a floating tank. What are those?
Yeah,
isolation. chambers?
Isolation chambers. Yeah. But she ended up. What's sad is she ended up divorcing her husband, and, like, he didn't do anything wrong, but it's because she had these, like, all these crazy revelations
epiphanies
about
and
her
shit.
like past, and she didn't even really go into detail what it was, but you can kind of assume it was probably, like, abuse, or whatever.
Yeah.
But she just was like, I couldn't be happy with that life, but that's what everyone thought that's what I thought would lead me to happiness. But like,
that's what everyone else thinking. But what she thought, everyone else thought that, so it made her think that.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes you gotta delve a little bit deeper to actually find, like, real meaning in your life.
That's a very true statement. I'm definitely calling this version of the pod "Rick and Nick Get Heavy."
Yeah,
because we'll probably
go deep.
We'll do. No, I won't steal Chad and JT's thunder, but we'll do a funny one soon. But
yeah,
I feel like it is interesting because, I mean, you and I both. I mean, with you after you finish school, teaching. after you finish school, working at a mental hospital.
Yeah.
That had to have been, I don't know. Like, there's
was
not a lot
eye-opening.
of people that I know that would be able to work at a mental hospital.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, like, it sounds so funny, but you clearly could. And it's not because you're mental, it's just because I feel like you have an approachable / like passive demeanor to where I feel like when you talk to people, that's why I always call you the fixer. I called you that like the last few podcasts.
Oh, nice.
When I kept saying like I don't understand. Sometimes I don't understand it because I always reference certain stories where it'll be like we'll have to find you like just somewhere and I'll be like, dude, are you alright? And you'll just be like hanging out, like smoking a cigarette. I don't know where you got from. And this was years ago, but this was like when we used to go downtown still.
Yeah.
But it'd be like, you would be like disheveled, but you would have an Uber like already on the way.
Yeah.
And so we'd be like, okay. So I'd just be like, this guy's playing 2 steps ahead. He's playing chess. Yeah. I'm out here playing
Dude,
checkers.
It's definitely the art of war, man. Make them think that you're weak when you're strong, and then the other way around.
Dude, I love Art of War quotes.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Art of War quotes that I use and apply to just life in general, especially like confrontation, is when you know, like when you're confident that you're gonna win, like when you're confident and like basically can assess that this is gonna, like, we can win this small battle.
Mm-hmm.
Build the enemies. He uses this metaphorically, obviously,
mm-hmm.
but build your enemies a golden bridge on which to retreat upon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of basically saying, like, why would you just slaughter, like, if you have 10,000 men and 1,000 dudes roll up and you could easily surround them and kill all of them, maybe sans a few runners.
Yeah, while using up some of your men too.
Yeah, and why would you do that and then have one guy go back to the village and tell them that the Shogun
mercilessly killed
all 1,000 of them, just killed all of them, just like slaughtered them.
Yeah.
Rather send them back and be like, this dude could have killed all of us.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
Right.
That's gonna benefit you so much more because now, like, they're a non-threat. They've already just realized, hey,
or they might even want to join you or something.
That exactly, or they just realized that, okay, we have no way of challenging this dude. So now you're able to, like, put your back against that border because you know that people aren't necessarily going to come in through there. So I didn't read the actual Art of War. I read, it's still long as fuck, but there's a 900 something page like
abridged
Art
version.
of War for Dummies type thing.
Yeah.
It's not that diluted, but it gets rid of like a lot of the Chinese. Well, you can still look them up, but like it gets rid of a lot of like the things that are a lot like more like there's more people who interpret them differently.
Yeah.
Like the Chinese proverbs and stuff. So, but like the good stuff, like the quote you just said and the quote I just said. But seriously, that's like always like been my thing is that, like, honestly, like even in like a situation like a fight, like a fist fight or something, if you get into a situation where you have the opportunity to either just like get this guy a few times while he's on the ground to like clean shots to the face, but you don't, and it's clear that you could have, and you just stand up and go, dude, fucking get the fuck out of here, dude.
Yeah.
Like that will resonate tenfold than to you caving his face in.
Right, and then perhaps his buddy's jumping in and
Yeah.
escalating it,
And then
you
now
ending
they're
up
gonna
getting
look
your
where
ass
you
kicked.
live. They're gonna try and find
Yeah.
where you
Get
like.
arrested.
They're gonna find you on Facebook. They might throw a rock through your window. They might break your car. All that shit.
Yeah.
But like he'll always that kid or I guess man. That
Mhm.
man will always remember like the dude who literally was towering over him and just said, "Get the fuck out of here, man."
Yeah.
And just let him go. Don't even punk him. Don't do anything. Like don't like because that'll also result in retaliation.
Right.
Basically, the whole long story short is, if you can avoid retaliation, it's so much better than vengeance.
Well, and that's the thing, because it's like when people are in the throes of a confrontation, they just want to be the victor at all costs. But it's like to really win doesn't mean you beat them in that moment. It means like you beat them in the whole war, not
Yeah.
just the battle. You know?
Damn, dude,
So-
Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill.
Because like you could
is on
be
the podcast.
you could be a
right
high
now.
school kid at a fucking party and get in a fight and like win that fight, but then just get your ass beat for like the next 3 years of high school.
Yeah, or like you just or like what if you just happen to be at like Frog and Peach 2 years later, and you're with like a girl you're trying to impress. You just went on a great date,
Yeah.
and then now you run into this dude who's just happened to like because he's mad, just had to do like 3 months in county, so he's got like huge traps, and you just have to like scrap this dude, and you're pretty wasted,
Yeah.
and you just get your ass beat,
Yeah.
all because you were so greedy that you had to kick his ass at that point.
Yeah.
There's a difference between like I don't know. It's so weird how all of that works. Like,
But I mean, it's not just applicable to obviously like fighting people
violence.
and shit. I mean, it is, because that's what like it's drawn from. I mean, at the end of the day, like that's our whole life is, you know, fight or flight kind of type thing. You got to either like know which battles to confront and which ones like you can't really fucking deal with. But it's like chess, dude, because like you could just be all aggressive with your pawns at the beginning and, you know, like pick up some quick pieces and shit because you're like mad or whatever and you want to like win real quick. But that's never gonna, I mean, that could be a strategy, but
well, like, have you seen like like I'm sure you've obviously heard of it because of the Woo and everything, but like, have you ever actually seen like the Queen's Gambit strategy played out?
I mean, I know of, you know, the Jizza shit, but I don't know what that actually like entails in chess.
So as far as I know, and I'm sorry if I sound ignorant to it, but I did look it up, and I'm fascinated by it. I've looked it up a few times.
Yeah.
And watched like a video or two on it. But basically, I've watched like games and stuff. Dude, they have chess on Twitch.
Oh, sick.
They have like grandmasters playing. and
Oh,
shit.
that's awesome.
So you can just it's actually like similar to ASMR. Like people give ASMR, like, not to go off topic, what I was gonna say reminded me to tell you about Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
Like ASMR to me is, I love it so much more when it's live. First of all,
Yeah.
it's got like, I love it when it's live. Like videos on demand, like, you know, past casts and stuff like that. Like those are great, but when you're looking for that kind of aspect, there's something about the fact that there's literally someone less than a half a second of data away, even if they're in another country.
Yeah.
That's
It's like they're
that's
connecting
doing this.
with you
Mhm.
in a...
And that's why people are like, I don't understand when people sub or donate and stuff, and it's like, you've never just like heard a guy belting out like a Nirvana song in the rain in San Francisco and like throwing a fucking $5 bill into his case because he's a boss.
Or, yeah, right, exactly. Or if like you're at a party and some girl like gave you a fucking dope massage for no reason while you're sitting there and you're like, yo, like, here's a bunch of weed or something.
Yeah, can I smoke? Yeah, exactly. People judge everything too much on the dollar.
Yeah.
I actually think that's a fantastic analogy. I'm glad that we're recording because I'm actually gonna like use that, because I've been trying to think of other ways of like people not understanding the whole sub and donation method, and like I get that people can wrap their heads around things like getting ad revenue and stuff, but literally like ad revenue, unless you're making videos that have like at least 5-figure view counts within a week of posting it. Like you can't because it's different if you have a 5-figure view counts after a year in a video, just because it's been up and it's like a song that people look up.
Right.
But like 5-figure view counts like within a week, you're not gonna be making money from YouTube.
Right. Well, and that's kind of like a big huge band like fucking Imagine Dragons or like U2 that's just on like the radio and shit, and they just make money from millions of people hearing their songs all the time, or like a very like niche band that isn't gonna be super famous, but their fans are like obsessed with them and they follow them everywhere, and they go to their actual like concerts and shit and spend money on their like merch. So that's like a big huge like PewDiePie type dude, or someone who just actually makes money from people watching their videos, and then like a smaller person who has like diehard fans that like actually fucking buy their shit.
Yeah, they'll be like, dude, I'll gladly pay $30 for this screen printed American Apparel T-shirt.
Yeah,
because I really like your music.
Yeah, and I want to like rep it hard because it's like a big part of my whole like life.
Yeah, and that's I think the beauty of YouTube and all that is that I just think it just needs to be approached now. I just feel like whatever what is there a name for the generation now? Because I like we were talking about earlier. I hate that millennials are.
I think supposedly it's like the from Y generation.
It was 85. Was it 85 to 90 is supposed to be millennial, or no, 85 to 2000?
Well, yeah, I think it's not so it's like 100% agreed upon. There's like a few different.
So it's like basically just like if you're a millennial, you definitely saw the towers fall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry for the dark joke.
Wait, let's see. That's a big cultural iconoclast type thing. Like, well, where were you when?
Well, I mean, like for instance, like my mom said, like my mom remembers. She went to She was at North Hollywood High at the time, and my mom remembers like they just literally were just watching newscasts in the classrooms when JFK got killed.
Yeah, dude, that must have been a pretty scary time.
Cause can you imagine that? Like, cause that's like, I mean, even though a lot of people don't have respect for our president right now, I still wouldn't want to see Trump just get shot.
Yeah,
I just want to see Trump have to face the facts.
JFK was like fucking loved by a lot of people, though.
He was.
I mean, so is Trump. But when JFK died,
JFK had a little bit like, dude, and this is coming from someone who is a huge JFK fan.
Yeah.
But he did have his, for lack of a better word or synonym, he had his Bill Clinton problem.
Oh yeah, of course.
He was like the Bill Clinton of his generation.
Yeah, they're kind of similar guys,
but without the carpet bombing of Iraq.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I mean, dude,
who knows?
American politics is just it's fucking weird.
I love all the conspiracy theories too about how like JFK and Jimmy Carter were both like the only two presidents of the last 50 to 70 years or so.
Yeah.
That were down to they wanted, like, one of their promises was to release the UFO files.
Oh,
and
wow.
Actually Trump was the most recent candidate to do that.
Huh.
To say that he would release the Area 51 files. Just to get like all of the major trailer parks in Nevada and Arizona on board with his campaign. I'm pretty sure that's how he won Utah. And
yeah, it's a smart strategy.
Yeah, and all you have to do is say a few words, a couple of white lies, you know.
Yeah. Dude, so I don't know. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No,
this is the generation shit, but keep going if you have a.
No, I'm just saying, like, that would be the funny, or that would be one of the funnier things. Would be Trump knows he's going out, And so he's just like drops the mic with like the Area 51 files, just so he's like, yo, I still want to.
I'm going down in history.
Yeah, I still want to like be in history books, and I still want to be cryogenically frozen. No, he's probably gonna live for another 10 years, dude. So like he's like, I still want to be on one more episode of The Apprentice.
He's like, I didn't build the wall, but I fucking told y'all about the aliens that we found.
Yeah,
in like the 40s.
Dude, that shit, dude. There, some of the stuff is like, so I go into that with like, I try and go into it as fully non-skeptic, or as fully skeptic as possible. Like,
yeah,
I don't go into it with any belief at all.
Right.
But I just don't get why some like my thing has always been, if you're not lying and you're not covering it, so if you're not lying, or if this isn't true, why are you just not declassifying certain things that would help with relevance?
Yeah.
And then their counter argument is, well, that's still stuff that is under, because it's similar to like why you can't talk about a legal proceeding while it's going on.
Yeah, it's like still under investigation.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's still in play. But at the same time, my counter argument to that is, well, even if it's still in quote unquote proceeding, or even if it's like, you know, I can't talk about that right now, like, why wouldn't people...
Dude, I think that maybe some of it is just like it'd be embarrassing for them to release, because it's like how they when they would experiment with people on LSD and shit, like
MK Ultra.
Yeah, like that's embarrassing. Like they don't want people. to know
It's funny because that's true. It's a real thing. It happened.
Yeah,
it's documented.
And I bet there's shit in the whole, you know, UFO type investigations that are just make the government look hella dumb, assuming that none of it is true. You know, like, well,
so I heard a really I actually didn't hear this. I had an idea. I was doing some weird I don't know. I do this thing because I have ADHD, quote unquote, where when I want to write or come up with a new idea of something,
yeah,
I make a almost like a thesis, or like a agenda, a list, a grocery list of things that I want to address.
Yeah.
And I develop characters through that before I even start writing page one or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just so that when I'm rolling, it's not like I repeat. It helps me avoid repeating myself.
Right.
It helps me avoid a lot of things.
Yeah.
Being contradictory, hypocrisy, or being a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Basically is that I think that the whole UFO phenomenon could be, I'm trying to think of like a good eloquent way of saying it. Continue what you were saying, because I was helping feed what I was saying, because I'm trying to think of like the best way of saying my mindset on this, because I do have a way of thinking of like that people are conditioned to believe what they hear the most, not necessarily what they are explained.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like I've always told you, flood the block. It's kind of like how when I log on to Reddit and I see something about like the Mueller case, I don't even fucking click on it anymore.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, if this motherfucker hasn't been impeached by now, the fuck is this? Like,
I know, right?
Is this post because it has 400,000 or 40,000 karma instead of just 38,000 karma, like the one that was yesterday?
Yeah.
Does that mean that he's actually out of here?
Well,
no.
I mean, I think that people's argument for the whole Mueller thing is like, oh,
it triggers me.
He's
so
like
hard.
he's going about it as thoroughly as he can, because to get an actual president,
he's just letting him finish out his presidency.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. We'll see when it comes out.
He's almost done with his presidency.
Yeah, that's true. But if he would have rushed it and
Dude
not,
has dude has 8 months before.
wait, no, he's what the 2020 election.
Yeah, it's
That's
20.
still-
It's 2019 right now, and the election happens like over this summer, doesn't it?
No, it happens in the actual 2020, like the end, like November of 2020. So it's like it's
Okay,
still like a year and a half.
Yeah, I'm an idiot, but I'm not a total idiot.
Well, I
in the
mean, he's
sense
been
of saying
president for 2.5 years, dude.
I know, and he's still really bad at golf. So
I hope that he's better now than he was before.
Sus.
But
Sorry, our PA is she doesn't really like the decor, and so she's trying to tear everything up.
yeah, she's looking at the flags in disgust. Wait, so yeah, we were talking about like aliens and shit. So you were saying how
Yeah.
well, you know what's funny, man? You brought up that quote or that point of like the tactic of flooding the block. This is actually a pretty like surreal thing that happened to me at work. This was a few years ago, maybe, or a while ago. But I went into there's this guy who's like the manager of not. He doesn't work at my hotel that I work at, but he's like the manager of all the local hotels, like maintenance stuff. So whenever they need, like, oh, we gotta like paint the fucking hotel, or we gotta like remodel the pool, or like do shit like that. Like he does that, which is a pretty significant job, and I'm sure he makes a decent amount of money. But he has like his own little office in some of like the different hotels, so it's not like part of the main office, but it's like basically like a hotel room with fucking like a desk in it. And I went in there one time because sometimes there's like tools or just like a thing that I would need, because he was never in there, and I would just go in there on my own. And there was a fucking quote on his like corkboard, and it said, it was, I mean, I don't remember what it said word for word, but essentially what it said was, whatever, to convince people of something isn't very difficult. Just repeat like the same things over and over again, and they'll start using those words and like being convinced by those words, even if it's meaningless, which is like so Trump style, and then I like, but it was like folded. The paper was folded, and I opened it up, and it was a fucking Hitler quote, dude. I was like, damn, this manager guy has a fucking Hitler quote on his board. I was like, either he's just hella cool and is kind of, because he hid the Hitler part, like he had it folded,
Yeah, so
but it was still attached to the paper.
He was self-aware.
Yeah, but it's like, either he actually likes Hitler and is just like fucking crazy psycho and uses these tactics like for his job, or he's trying to make a point that like fucked up like maniacal people can have really persuasive like techniques of how to like manage people and shit.
If anything, honestly, like obviously gonna probably catch a lot of flack on this, because obviously I think that Hitler was a horrible person. But the thing is that he was also in the company of many other horrible people.
Yeah.
It wasn't just him.
It wasn't like
who did
him
it
by himself.
Like
created all of Nazi Germany.
If anything, his influence did affect a lot of people's attitudes. But like, for instance, like in Schindler's List, the guy who wakes up in the morning and just decides to take pot shots at like random people in the camps.
Yeah.
Like that kind of shit. Like that's what Hitler created.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't Hitler himself.
Well, he created
necessarily,
a culture.
He created exactly.
We're like cool with that.
And
shit.
the thing is that Hitler may have, like, we don't know because we weren't there.
Yeah.
So he could have been just as, he was definitely smarter than Trump, but like he could have been just as blind to his influence.
Yeah.
And just saw it as like, hey, we're gonna take our country back. We're gonna stop the advance of communism.
Yeah, well, I think Hitler was a fucking, actually really genius war tactician at the beginning of World War II, but then he got greedy.
Fortifying against the U.S. and Britain was the best thing he ever did.
Yeah, dude, and like
also the worst thing for my grandfather.
Yeah, and I mean, you can be evil but still be fucking smart, and it's like he dude, the way Germany plowed over everyone so fucking quickly, and with Italy like barely helped. Japan was doing their fucking thing.
All Japan did was act so literally like
against China. Before they started the whole U.S. thing.
Dude, Japan that wasn't even a world war. Japan just fucked China.
Yeah,
they were horrible,
and like
they were horrible people. Japan like murdered like most of Asia.
Oh yeah,
they
dude.
were just like, and that's also crazy is that if Japan hadn't done that, China would make up for like more than half of the world's population.
Yeah,
because China is not similar in topography, but similar in demographics. In that it's like Australia, where like only like the nicer parts of it are inhabited.
Yeah.
Like I think there's like a statistic that like more than half of China's actual like landmass is populated.
Yeah. It's a huge area.
Yeah,
there's billions of people now.
Oh yeah. If it's like that big of a top country.
Yeah. But
I mean, Zaza, why did I even let you have that cap?
Like, I mean, dude, Hitler went crazy. They said he was doing meth and also.
Well, no, I heard that it wasn't.
And had syphilis.
It wasn't like he was snorting crystal meth. Because I think a lot of people think when they hear meth, they think of it as crystal meth.
Right.
Crystal meth was just like the crack of cocaine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meth itself is just basically Adderall.
Yeah.
So he had all of his boys fucking popping instas. instant Adderalls.
Yeah.
Which is how I pay the rent here right now until I get a real job.
Shout out.
Shout out if you need me. Hit me on the socials. Don't text me, please.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't have any pending problems now.
Nice. That's pretty sick.
I'm out here eating Kenya bowls and.
How is that?
It's so good.
You get that again?
Yeah. 100%.
Nice.
If they have it.
Yeah.
Because it's Smart and Final. Sometimes they have what you want. And other times they're like, nah, but we have it in tropical flavor.
Yeah.
I still think it's funny just that that whole store is probably just shit that fell off the truck.
Yeah. There's reason places like that exist. But the thing too is, I think, like I've heard this quote that Americans shop with their eyes, and like a lot of people from other countries, or especially like from the Asian continent, shop with their nose, and like like Americans, if like an orange is a little bit like of a weird color, they just won't fucking buy it. Or like if there's like one fucked up strawberry and like a giant thing of strawberries, they won't buy it. It's like, so that food just goes to fucking waste, or they just sell it for way cheaper elsewhere.
Well, it does. We're gonna transition from being deep as fuck to going back to chill.
Yeah, all right. Let's do it.